everyone, and welcome to another Gaffering Gear. Today it's a very quick review of this light, which is the Godox SL100D. This is a ridiculously cheap light that might be worth knowing about. All right, so by ridiculously cheap, $180 US, 255 Australian dollars. So it's a 100 watt COB light, daylight balance only. It takes bow and mount accessories. It's 100% flicker free. It boasts very good color render, very good CCT accuracy, and very good white point accuracy. Now, for your money, you don't get a lot. You get the light, you get the dish, and you get a power cable. All right, so let's go through the pros and cons. All right, so let's go through the negatives first. So the first negative for me is it's AC power only. There's no DC power inlet, so you can't run this directly off a battery. The next negative for me is the reflector design. So with this reflector, you have an insanely bright hotspot right in the center of the beam. Now, that hotspot can give you misleading figures if you're looking at this thing online. At 1 meter away, smack in the center, it is an insane amount of lux level, but that's where the beam is focused to. Now, if you're going to use this in the real world, I would suggest that you're going to need to put some sort of diffusion over the dish if you intend using the dish at all. Now, the next negative for me is the cooling system. So the cooling system is almost genius. So it sucks the cold air in through the back here, through these vents, and then that gets blown out the front here over the heat sinks. So here's the problem with it. The back of the unit around here is very quiet. You don't get fan noise until you're up near the front. Now, it's not that bad. I'll just turn it on. Now, bear in mind, I'm wearing a microphone standing right next to it. It's not that bad, okay? But here's the problem. When you put a dish on, the dish acts like a megaphone. So all of the fan noise that's coming out the front here gets amplified forwards. All right, so let's have a listen to that. Now, if you're using, say, a softbox modifier, that's going to be muffled, but the dish, I pretty much wouldn't use that within a couple of meters of a microphone. The next negative for me is you don't have any fan control. The fan spins at a speed that is directly proportional to your brightness level. So if you've got it dimmed down, the fan is not as loud as if you've got it turned all the way up full brightness. All right, another thing I don't like with it, but I can't really call it a negative for the price, is the mount here, or the tilt. So it's one of those rosettes where it clicks into position. I can't stand that because I always find that the position you want the light at is always between clicks. But you're not really paying enough for this thing to come with a stirrup that mounts on both sides. You also don't get a ratchet handle here, but you're not paying enough to get a ratchet handle. One plus it does have, it's got an umbrella mount here. Now that umbrella mount is spring loaded, so I can't test it because I don't have any umbrella mounts. All right, so let's get into the positives. So the first positive for me is the CCT accuracy. Now on the left side of the screen, I have my meter readings with the light operating as a raw COB, so no modifier. And on the right side of the screen is the scores for the light operating with the dish. I've also taken the readings at 100%, 50%, and 25% brightness. And as you can see, not only does it have a good CCT at 100% brightness, it maintains a very accurate CCT as you dim it. Next positive for me is the color render. No matter how you measure the color render scores, they're pretty impressive, particularly for a $180 light. Right, so let's take a look at the SSI scores, and they're pretty much identical regardless of whether you're using the dish or a bare COB. So at 100%, I got a score of 73. At 50%, that drops to 72. And at 25%, that drops to 71. Now with the TN30 color vector scores at 100% brightness, I got 93% color accuracy with an average 101% saturation. At 50% brightness, it's pretty much identical. And at 25% brightness, it drops ever so slightly to 92% color accuracy. Now with the exception of R12, all of the CRI scores are very high, particularly R9, which is a skin tone indicator. So these are the scores for 100% brightness, for 50% brightness, and for 25% brightness. Now I will go through the rest of the technical data later on in the video. Now the last plus for this thing is it really is quite bright for a 100 watt light. there's plenty of light level coming off it, and the spread off the COB is more than enough to light the inside of a lantern or the inside of a softbox. All right, let's go through operating this unit now, and it really is straightforward. It's a no frills light. So you've got your brightness control here, which is in 1% increments. The knob on the other side selects your effects. Okay, so if you press the effects button, you've got 7 effects to choose from. Nothing amazing there. It's just like strobe patterns, paparazzi, TV effects, stuff like that. Nothing really worth showing. Now the Sensor 2 buttons are groups and channels. This is to do with mobile phone app operation. Now I'm not going to review the phone app because what tends to work on my phone doesn't work on other people's phones and vice versa. So I've just given up. All right, so why would I bother even considering a cheap light like this? Well, sometimes I get a phone call for a job, like say a reality TV show, and they might have a set or a room that they want to have permanently lit for 2 to 3 months, and they've got a set budget on that. Now, when that happens, what I do is I tend to go through my workshop here and see what spare lights I've got that I can utilize for that. But inevitably, there's bits and pieces that I can't spare. Now, in that sort of situation, a light like this with a softbox modifier or even a lantern could come in really handy as a cheap option, because at the end of the shoot, I could just sell it and I'm going to have my money back. All right, let's get into the technical data. All right, so let's go through the technical data that I haven't covered so far in the video. All right, the light is completely flicker free. So it's running constant current dimming, so it's not doing pulse width modulation. Okay, so the negative side to that is when you're really low on your dimmers, your color accuracy is going to be all over the place. So I'm talking like below 5%, but the plus side is you are totally flicker free. All right, so let's have a look at the lux or brightness. So I've taken readings at 1 meter and at 3 meters. Now I've taken readings with the dish in the center of the hotspot, 1/3 of the way into the beam, and I've taken a reading without a modifier on, so raw COB. Now, if you have a look at the reading at 1 meter for the hotspot and 1/3 of the way into the beam, you can see why I think it is a total waste of time taking readings at 1 meter. They can be very misleading. Okay, let's take a look at the spectrum distribution. First off, these are the results with the bare COB, no modifier. This is at 100%, this is at 50%, and this is at 25%. Now let's take a look with the reflector on, 100%, 50%, and 25%. Now in terms of the white point accuracy, which is how pink or how green the light is, there is a bit of difference between having the dish on and having the dish off. First off, let's have a look with the dish on. At 100% brightness, it came in with a delta UV of minus 0.0007. At 50% brightness, it comes in at minus 0.0001. And at 25% brightness, it comes in at plus 0.0006. Now with the raw COB, the light is always a little bit above the Planckian curve. At 100% brightness, it comes in at plus 0.0002. At 50% brightness, it comes in at plus 0.0007. And at 25%, it comes in at plus 0.0011. So there's pretty much no difference in hue when you're dimming between 25% and 100% brightness. All right, that's this light reviewed. See you on the next episode of Gaffering Gear. Take care.